first none of these, I want to do, none of these, the way they are, the way I know, that's what I'm saying. I just read this in, right? Yeah, that's it. Piece of paper with You want me to read this in? Okay. All right. So just read this? Okay.
Thanks.
What lawyer?
I got the auntie look today.
I don't know. A lot of people are speaking of
Right.
Did you have to sign in to speak? Oh, well.
Pretty hot. That's the one too. Pretty hot. Pretty hot.
Too many.
how many, just for good measure. started, so we'll figure out the rest.
The meeting for Akron City Council will come to order. Clerk will read the roll.
Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
For those who voluntarily wish to do so, would you please stand as we are led in prayer by Pastor Booker Person, who is the pastor of Greater Bethel Baptist Church. Immediately following our prayer, we'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance. Going to ask if Councilman Samples can do that for us.
Let us all bow our heads in a word of prayer. Gracious God, our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you've given us. First of all, we come before you, your throne of mercy and grace. Thank you for this another City Council gathering. Thank you for your manifold and abundant blessings. Thank you that it is in you that we live, move, and have our being. Thank you for a reasonable portion of health and strength. Thank you for our families and friends. Thank you for our gifts and talents and callings. In the scriptures, your word teaches us that we should obey those that govern and those that are in authority. And so even tonight, you've established those authorities to promote peace and goodwill and justice. So tonight, we pray for our mayor, we pray for the various city officials, and we ask particularly that you would be with us in this assembly. Give them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times. Give them a sense of welfare and true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and righteousness. We ask, Lord, tonight that you would give them peace in their lives and as they go forth in their task. We pray for the agenda set before them tonight. Please give them the assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those of us who live in this great city of Akron. For we ask it now in your blessed name, and we say together, amen.
Amen. Clerk will read the minutes from our previously held meeting.
Minutes from September 10th, 2018. Council convened in regular session at 7 p.m. with President Somerville in the chair. All members were present. Minutes of the previous regular meeting were approved. Reading of petitions and communications. Passage of the consent agenda. Report of standing and special committees. Passage and referral of new ordinances and resolutions. Representation from various departments and divisions. Public speaking period. No further business on a motion by Fusco. Council adjourned at 8:44 p.m. to reconvene a regular session on September 17, 2018, or a special call.
Any corrections or additions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Letters, petitions, and communications.
Petition of Genesis Outdoor Advertising for conditional use to install a digital billboard along I-77 and at 530 Nome Avenue and lease city-owned land, Good Park Golf Course.
File.
Petition of Radiator for conditional use to construct a new storage building at 2822 Albrecht Avenue.
File.
Correspondence regarding 15 Broad Street.
File.
Notice of new C1, C2 liquor permit. Is that a fire alarm?
There's his iPad he was looking for. It was right beside him. He was looking for his iPad.
Is that Linda's?
Go ahead.
It's not mine.
Okay, while he puts out the fire. Notice of a new C1, C2 liquor permit to Talmadge Mini Mart LLC, 1015 to 1017 East Talmadge Avenue.
Special attention, Councilman Kilby.
Notice of transfer of D1, D2, D3, D3A, D6 liquor permit to the Valley Cantina Incorporated, Weathervane Lane.
Special attention, Councilman Keith.
Semi-annual report on behalf of the Akron Civil Rights Commission.
File.
Right.
You have before you the consent agenda. Councilman Neal.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. I'd like to pull item number 8 from the consent agenda, please.
So we have a request to pull item number 2 off of the consent agenda.
Item 8 or 2?
Item number 8.
Is that it? Okay.
Okay. So again, we have the consent agenda before us. Councilman Neal is requesting that item number 8 be removed.
Okay.
Is there a motion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage of the consent agenda. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
We'll now move into our old business, rules. Councilman Keith.
Thank you, Madam President. On number 1, under rules, the sponsor of this item would like to withdraw this item from the agenda, so if you would please, clerk, do so. And on number 2, time, please.
Okay. Item number 1 will be withdrawn, and time will be granted on item number 2. On tonight, we do have 4 public hearings before us. We're going to ask if there's anyone here in the audience that is here to speak on any of the 4 public hearings, if you'll stand at this time. So if you are here to speak on 436 North Firestone Boulevard, 46 South Summit Street, 590 Diagonal Road, or about the Home Avenue redevelopment plan, we're going to have you to stand so that you can be sworn in by our law department.
Hi, if you would, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Public hearing number 1. This is a legal notice. Notice hereby given, a public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, September 17, 2018, during a regular council meeting at 7 p.m. in Council Chambers, 166 South High Street, upon an ordinance authorizing conditional use to establish a 2-family use at 436 Firestone Boulevard.
Thank you. Mr. Antonucci.
Thank you, Madam President, members of council. Jacob Karam is requesting permission to establish the 2nd single-family dwelling in one of the detached garages in the rear of the property. Petitioner purchased this vacant property in March of 2014. The large property contained a single-family dwelling and 2 detached garages with a shed placed in between at the rear of the property. The structure at the southeast corner of the property contains a 2-car garage plus a 2-story apartment. The petitioner stated that when he bought the property, part of the garage was constructed as living space. Petitioner has renovated and updated the apartment space and is looking to rent the small apartment. Planning staff considers the property to be legal non-conforming development with respect to the size and location of the structure. It's evident that the garage at the southeast corner of the property has been used as living space since its construction in 1944, but was never in compliance with code for 2-family use. The large lot currently exceeds size requirements for a 2-family dwelling and is well maintained. Petitioners made significant improvements to the property. Utilizing one of the garages for a separate single-family small apartment should not be intrusive to the neighboring properties. Both Planning Commission and planning staff recommend approval, subject to conditions.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in the audience that is here to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone here to speak in favor? Anyone here to speak in favor? Seeing none, is there anyone here to speak against this ordinance? Anyone here to speak against? Okay. Seeing and hearing none, we will close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco, what's your pleasure?
I would like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules. Kamer? Neal? Swirsky?
Aye.
Yes, thank you. This is a conditional use request that has been, there's a number of conditions that's got to be met by the petitioner. They've agreed to do so. The Planning Department, the Planning Commission all recommended approval. Therefore, we recommend approval this evening.
Thank you. Any objections on the suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Okay. Item number 2, legal notice. Notice is hereby given. A public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, September 17, 2018, during the regular meeting at 7 p.m. in Council Chambers, 166 South High Street, upon an ordinance authorizing conditional use to establish a medical marijuana dispensary at 46 South Summit Street.
Mr. Antonucci.
Thank you, Madam President, members of council. Greenleaf Apothecaries LLC proposes to utilize and renovate the first floor of this 3-story vacant brick office building as a medical marijuana retail dispensary. Greenleaf Apothecaries LLC would sell and distribute approved forms of cannabis and cannabis-infused medical products to registered patients and patient caregivers participating in the Ohio Medical Marijuana Control Program. The interior arrangement of the first floor space will be renovated to allow the patients to be processed securely. The petitioners state they will create at least 17 local jobs with fair market wages and benefits that will generate an estimated $13,500 of local income tax revenue a year. One goal of the Land Use and Development Guide Plan is to provide well-planned, designed, and located business areas at locations to service the needs of the population. The proposed medical marijuana dispensary site is within the Downtown Arts District and the Northside Community Entertainment District. This area is reserved for various housing options, offices, and a vibrant mix of entertainment, retail, educational, sporting, social, cultural, or arts establishments. As such, the proposed use would not be harmonious and appropriate in appearance with the existing or intended character of the general vicinity as required under Section 153474B of the Zoning Code, and could be disturbing to existing or future neighboring uses, and thus does not meet the requirements of Section 143.474C. The area surrounding the proposed use includes some of the city's primary civic and cultural attractions, including the Akron Art Museum, the John S. Knight Convention Center, and the Akron Summit County Main Library. The area's economic health, could be negatively impacted by the presence of a nearby dispensary facility, and thus does not meet the requirements of Section 153474E and 153476E3B. Section 153476E3 includes considering the location of the proposed dispensary in relation to medical or pharmaceutical facilities of complementary nature. There are no other pharmacies, medical facilities, other proposed medical marijuana facilities within close proximity of this area. Planning staff believes the proposed use would better serve the population in an established retail or commercial area along a primary arterial. Both Planning Commission and planning staff recommend disapproval.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience to speak in favor of this ordinance? So I'm just going to ask when you reach the podium, if you could please give us your name and your address.
Hi, my name is Karen Edwards, and my address is 113 Botsam Court. I'm in Ward 1, Rich Swirsky's ward, which is where this dispensary is proposed. Also known as the plant lady by some. So I am a third-generation herbalist. My mother and my grandmother are also herbalists, so I've used and grown plant medicine my whole life. And I just want to speak in support of this dispensary. So in order to increase my plant knowledge, I just graduated with a certificate of medical cannabis, comprehensive certificate from the Cleveland School of Cannabis. And I think putting a dispensary downtown where there's easy access for a lot of people to get the medicine that they need, very real plant medicine, is a good idea. And I just, as a Ward 1 resident, want to speak in support of it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in the audience to speak in favor?
My name is Kate Nelson. I live at 2146 Jacoby Road in Copley, Ohio. For those of you who don't know me, I serve as the Director of Community Engagement for Greenleaf. I spoke earlier today, and I generally have a lot to say about this facility, but I'm going to try and keep this relatively brief. Our application at 46 South Summit Street is the highest scoring medical marijuana dispensary application out of 376 statewide. District-wide, this location has the highest score for every single one of the 23 scorable sections. With that being said, our floor plans, SOPs, community engagement, educational materials are all second to none. And being a Summit County resident, nothing could make me more proud about the fact that this facility in Akron gets to set the bar for how all the others will operate. We've had a direct line of open communication with the City of Akron since the repeal of the moratorium last May, and have tried to continually be a part of conversations to ensure that this is something that Akron feels there is a need for just as much as we do. As mentioned, we'll occupy 3,600 square feet of the ground floor at 46 South Summit. Our facility will include multiple consultation rooms, a community engagement space, as well as a dispensing area and waiting area where all of our educational material will be displayed. In regards to our community engagement services, we went above and beyond in terms of what we would be offering, not only as a medical marijuana dispensary, but as a community resource. We have our own on-site food bank where we'll offer actually healthy food alternatives, so not things that are typically as laden with sugar and sodium that you would find in non-perishable food items. We'll also have free monthly haircuts and hygiene products for veterans and indigent patients, as well as a transportation shuttle service so people are more easily able to access this dispensary. We'll offer things like laundromat allowances, small denomination gift cards, toy campaigns, clothing drives, really trying to do our part in making sure that this is used as a community resource. The community engagement space specifically will also be used to hold focus groups where patients who have qualifying conditions are able to meet on a weekly basis and discuss different routes of administration or cannabinoid profiles that work best for them. This building specifically has been vacant for 4 years. We plan on doing an entirely renovated new storefront, as well as paving the on-site parking, landscaping around the area, and have had the opportunity to reach out to our neighbors immediately on South Summit. We have the full support of Paul Parentonitis, who owns the building at East Mill and South Summit, as well as Eileen Shapiro's office, who owns the Akron Art Space on the other corner of the block there. So we want to be a part of this community and do it in a way that not only council is in full support of, but also the community as a whole. And I think that we've done our due diligence in making sure this is something that is absolutely welcomed. I get called on a daily basis of patients who have recommendations and are asking when this facility will be opening. Our website is offline, which means that we're going through a process of Board of Pharmacy approval, and I don't even know how these people find my phone number at this point. They most likely comb through 737 pages of an application just to find a way to contact someone to see if there is relief in the near future from the debilitating symptoms that they suffer from conditions like HIV, AIDS, epilepsy, cancer, PTSD, hepatitis C, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. I mean, these are some really hefty conditions with some really hefty symptoms. We haven't posted any of our available jobs yet, but I have a dedicated folder in my inbox that has numerous Akron residents' resumes who've already contacted us in support of this facility and are in search of jobs in this industry. We'll be, as mentioned, creating 17 new jobs, which range from security guards to receptionists to IT support personnel, as well as pharmaceutical technicians. And we intend on working with the local university and local job fairs and making sure that these jobs are available to Akron residents, which is something that I think we absolutely need to do. Our employees have a combined 480 hours of paid volunteer time every year, which means that not only are we going to be doing really great things within these four walls, but we're actively going to be a part of the community, spending time with organizations that are so important to us all. Thank you. And I'll be available to answer any other questions you may have.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Dave Neundorfer. I reside at 3350 Maynard Road, Shaker Heights, Ohio. And I'd like to introduce myself. I'm the CEO of Greenleaf, and if anybody was wondering why we got the #1 score in the state of Ohio, I think you just saw an example of why. I think it's worth mentioning just a couple of things. I'll keep it brief, but there was no residency requirement for this program in Ohio. So professional teams who are already operating in locations from Maui to Maine poured in applications to earn the right to operate in the state of Ohio. And I think what set our team apart was the fact that we're an Ohio operating team who care about the community, who have already demonstrated that we're invested in the community, and we reside in the community. So Kate lives 10 minutes from a 10-minute drive from 46 South Summit Street. I timed it on the way here today. I live 41 minutes away. And we're going to build Mastery here in Ohio. We're not going to import Mastery. We're also going to keep profits here in Ohio. We're not going to export profits. And throughout our application, that Ohio pride, the medical seriousness, we have an 8-doctor medical advisory board who are all lending their expertise and their experience towards not only the success of our team, but the success of the overall program. We talked about the safety, the security, and the professional manner in which we hope to roll this company out. And about a year and a half ago, we started this journey with meetings with various leaders in the Akron community, and we are humbly requesting permission from council to realize and actualize and execute that vision. I think it's worth mentioning that our score in Akron was the #1 winning score in 370 applications, as Kate mentioned, but our score in Wickliffe, Cleveland, Canton, and Columbus were numbers 4 through 5. So we will not only be operating a single entity in Akron, we'll be operating 5 dispensaries in the state of Ohio. And about a month ago, we just were awarded a processing license, #4 in the state of 104 applications. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is not to brag, but to say that we're going to be creating more jobs, not only at those locations, but administrative roles to support all of those locations. And we fully intend, in addition to the 17 jobs that we will create for our Akron dispensary, we intend to locate our administrative offices here in Akron as well. How many jobs will that be? It's hard to say at this point. But certainly there will be more jobs in addition to the 17 that we identified. And again, we're excited to realize this vision. We appreciate your consideration, and we're here for any follow-up or questions if you may have them. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here else in the audience to speak in favor? Seeing none, is there anyone here in the audience to speak against? Is there anyone in the audience to speak against this ordinance?
My name is Willie Smith. I live at 225 Chittenden Street. I'm sort of crossed in between whether they should have this medical marijuana in Akron or not, and this is the reason. The medical marijuana industry is potentially $1 billion industry, and it's government controlled. It is a government controlled project. Why is it? City Council has not mentioned Akron has a community benefits development program during its public hearing. Nor has it mentioned that the Fannie Lewis law will be enforced and applied that will give the residents of Akron a share or percentage of jobs created by this new medical marijuana venture and industry in our city. The medical marijuana is a new venture all over the United States. So there's no exact information and know how it will impact the city's well-being other than it will create revenue for the drug industry. We, the voters, residents, and ratepayers of Akron, need to know and be assured we will benefit from the medical marijuana industry present in our city. We want a mandatory percentage of jobs created by this industry for the residents of Akron needing livable employment.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Elizabeth Bartz. I reside at 1882 Larchmont Drive in Akron, and I am speaking against it. For those of you who are here this afternoon, you heard the representative erroneously dump my name in as a supporter of this program, and I had an opportunity to talk to my landlord, who she claims has his full support, and he does support it, so I'm not saying anything about Paul, but his comment was that there was somebody on the team that came to speak to him who had an MBA from Stanford, and that impressed him, until I reminded him the Unabomber went to Harvard. I think that this is something I would have liked to have seen more research done about other cities. As somebody who goes to the U.S. Council of Mayors meetings, the National League of Cities meetings, to National Governors Association meetings, this has been a big topic. And a lot of the cities that have these medical marijuana dispensaries, they all sound really good because the money's going to be coming in, but it really isn't. And if anybody heard WKSU today, there are issues with bringing buses in with senior citizens because it's cheaper for them to just get the cannabis that they need for their ills and aches. I just wish there was a little bit more research done and not just the sizzle that we're getting tonight.
Thank you. Anyone else here in the audience to speak against? Okay, seeing and hearing none, we're going to close this public hearing. Councilman Fusco.
Okay. I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Question, Councilman Neal?
I did have a question based on one of the comments. And I know we've heard this before, and it was brought up by some council members at one time too. Does the city have a community benefits agreement or some type of requirement to make sure that the jobs that come in, a certain percentage, are for citizens of Akron? I mean, that came up from some council members back when we had the first conversation, and I'm speaking in general, not just for this one applicant, but do we have something in place? And excuse me, for city.
Oh, that's fine.
Yes, I think that's a separate issue, but I understand the question and absolutely would like to find out as well, but that's, in terms of the zoning piece, I said, President.
We can find out.
Yeah, an answer on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I would like for us to, again, it's not specific to this one applicant, but I know it was brought up when we first started interviewing all of these, and we never got a definitive answer, so thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Neal.
Okay, thank you. Pull the committee for favorable report with suspension of the rules. That would be Kamer, Neal, Swirsky.
Aye.
Okay. Again, any objections on suspension of the rules? Okay, seeing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you, President Somerville. This is this application. The applicant has agreed to the terms and conditions of this particular conditional use request. And I know the ward council person would like to make some comments, and they are in favor of this as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Councilman Swirsky?
Just real briefly, this is an opportunity to provide professional, reliable medical service to our citizens. It's an opportunity to create at least 17 jobs and to add to our tax base. But most of all, it's an opportunity to send a message to our residents and really to other people in Ohio and the nation that we are a modern city that recognizes the value and benefits of medical marijuana, that is keeping pace with current scientific understanding and medical recommendations. And I think that that will bode well for economic development and for attracting new, younger residents to our city. And so it's not just for health, it's also economic development, and we will all benefit.
Thank you, Councilman Swirsky. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Public hearing number 3. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, September 17th, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. in council chambers, 166 South High Street, upon an ordinance approving the new application of Stephen Brown to place property at 590 Diagonal Road in an agricultural district pursuant to the revised code, section 929.01.
Mr. Antonucci?
Madam President. Thank you, Madam President, members of council. Stephen Brown is requesting agricultural district designation for his property at 590 Diagonal Road. He has 1 acre of land devoted for growing crops for sale at farmers markets. The agricultural designation will provide financial benefits in the form of property tax relief and encourages continued agricultural production of this property. Planning staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in the audience to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone here to speak in favor?
Good evening. My name is Stephen Brown, and I reside at 590 Diagonal Road. The property in question is actually about 2 acres. The entire growing area consists of only one greenhouse, about 3,600 square feet. Inside that, we have over 11,000 plants available, and they all grow on less than 650 gallons of water. It is extremely efficient. We have seen our business grow substantially as a result of this increased production activity, and that's what we're looking to maintain. Viewing the property, viewing the greenhouses from the street, barely visible this time of year with all the nice big bright trees. I can control many things, but I can't control the season, so you're probably going to see a little bit more of it come winter. But the point is that we are, in addition to providing the freshest produce possible at farmers markets, we're also reaching out to a number of nonprofit organizations as well. So we will continue to make what I trust will be a good and useful contribution to the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here in the audience to speak in favor? Is there anyone in the audience to speak against? Anyone in the audience to speak against? Seeing and hearing none, we'll close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco.
I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules. Thank you. Kamer, Neal, Swirsky.
Aye.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Brown is you know, He's quite used to coming down here. He's not a stranger to Akron City Council. We approved his conditional use some time ago, and he's got a very good reputation within the community in terms of farming, and we think this would be only appropriate, and we encourage more agricultural district type activity within the city. So with that, we recommend approval this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Okay, public hearing number 4. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, September 17, 2018, at the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. in council chambers, 166 South High Street, upon an ordinance approving the Home Avenue redevelopment plan.
Mr. Antonucci?
Thank you, Madam President, members of council. The Home Avenue redevelopment area is located just south of the intersection of Talmadge Avenue and Home Avenue and consists of one parcel occupying 3.72 acres of land. The sale of the property from the city to NSA Holdings LLC was approved by council on July 30th. The property owner was issued a conditional use to establish a medical marijuana cultivation and processing site at this 1055 Home Avenue location by council in June of 2017. The Home Avenue redevelopment plan contains a statement of objectives for the property, including reducing blighting influences through facilitating development. The establishment of the redevelopment plan gives the city the ability to utilize tax increment financing in and around the plan area to assist in future development. It is in the interest of the city of Akron to provide opportunities for businesses to create jobs for the residents of the city. Proposed redevelopment plan will assist in generating revenue to assist in future development.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in the audience to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone in the audience to speak in favor? Is there anyone in the audience to speak against? Anyone in the audience to speak against? Seeing and hearing none, we'll close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco?
Yes, thank you, President Somerville. I'd like to pull the committee to refer this item for 1 week. Kamer? Neal? Swirsky?
Aye.
Okay. This item will be referred. Councilman Fusco, your pleasure on the rest of the agenda.
The request of the committees for time on items 5 and 6.
Time will be granted on 5 and 6.
The report of the committee on item number 7 is favorable, and we ask for suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. This is asking the mayor or his designee to file an application with the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development in support of the continuum of care, which we're all very familiar with. This is I believe the current application is for $4,965 million. I'm hearing from Helen Tomick, who happens to be here as the expert on the continuum of care. But this is an organization, this is a group that comes together to ensure that those less fortunate than us have a safe place to be, in a place that they can stay in tough times. We also learned, and the question was asked last week, and this application is for all of Summit County, but we asked in terms of all the beds that are out there and available, where are they located by city? And we were informed today that about 78% are located within the city of Akron, of those beds that house individuals that are in need of help. And so with that, we recommend approval this evening.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, she's not here. Samples, Sim, Somerville, Swirsky.
Councilman Fusco?
Okay. Request the committees for time on items number 8, 9, and 10.
Time will be granted on items 8, 9, and 10.
I would like to
That's the application. Okay, I'll just stay separate.
poll the committee for,
Councilman Swirsky?
Yeah, I have a request. I'd like to see item 7B, resolution number 7B.
Right here.
Taken out of order and have it addressed at this point.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to take item 7B out of order. Is there a second? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, for the record, item 7B, resolution expressing support for continued efforts, funding, and actions on the part of the City of Akron to address and combat homelessness, acknowledging dedication and efforts of the Akron-Summit County Continuum of Care and other Akron-related and benefit organizations, including the homeless charity in the fight against homelessness, encouraging continued discussion and collaboration between the City of Akron and the homeless charity and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
yes, thank you, President Somerville. I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended. We actually have a question, Councilman Neal.
Yes, sir.
It's okay.
Mr. Fusco, are we going to be able to hear from Mr. Lewis on this one?
It's up to the president. It's up to the president on that. It's up to the president in terms of, I did speak to Mr. Lewis beforehand,
Okay.
reference this, and Mr. Milkovich was also there.
Okay,
We
so
did talk about this particular resolution, and it seemed as though that he was favorable of this resolution.
Okay, is that, okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules. That'd be Kamer, Neal, Swirsky.
Aye.
Thank you.
Any other further comments, Councilman Fusco?
Yes, thank you. This particular item here is a resolution basically, and first of all, I think it's important to thank Mayor Horrigan and his staff, Director Belfance and Jason Segedy and everyone. We had talked about this particular resolution, and they had worked all weekend on this and put forth quite a bit of effort. And basically what this does is outlines a way for the administration, and we encourage, as a city council, we encourage the administration. There has been talk about an MOU. We're encouraging them to work with the homeless charity in terms of that particular MOU. Also, there is an action plan that Jason Segedy, which appeared on everyone's desk here this afternoon, that action plan that Mr. Segedy has developed in terms of going forward with regards to working with the homeless charity. And I'd like to point everyone to the second bullet point, I guess, under action item number 3, which states convene the continuum of care, leadership within 7 days. And part of that, the housing team will ensure the housing option is offered to all current residents in the encampment within 60 days. Also include the homeless charity with regards to the this refers to the memorandum of understanding and working with them. This also establishes a leadership team of which we're asking Mr. Lewis, or a representative of the homeless charity, be part of. So I believe this is simply a resolution, but however, it encourages that working together, and I know Jason Segedy, our law department, Mayor Horrigan, and everyone wants to see this to fruition. So with that, we recommend approval this evening.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
Councilman Fusco?
Yes, on item number 11, this is the conditional use to retain a campground tent community at 15 Broad Street. I would like to poll the committee for an adverse report, meaning that a yes vote, it would be not in favor of the tents at the location. Everybody understand that? So with that, I'm asking for a yes vote on the adverse report. Kamer? Neal? Swirsky?
Aye.
The report of the committee is adverse with regards to this particular zoning, conditional use zoning. Would you like me to go further? Yes, Mr.
Councilman Neal?
I'm sorry, I misunderstood, and you tried to explain it as clear as day.
Yeah.
But
That's okay.
I looked at the councilman who's in ward this is in, and so I want to change my vote to nay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. This particular item has, we've received a lot of emails on this. We received the voluminous document, if you will, last week, the 1,000-page, which was available to all of council. You know, this is a tough decision. However, though, the thing of it is what we've got to do is stay within what our charge is as council people. And when it comes to conditional use request, and I place this on everyone's table today too, and that is the criteria that's located within our code of ordinances that we have got to weigh and consider whenever a conditional use comes before council. Okay, everyone got a copy of that today. We heard the report last week from Mr. Antonucci. There's 8 criteria altogether, and in terms of this particular proposal, 5 of those didn't quite meet that. With that, the recommendation of the committee is adverse.
Thank you. The committee's report is adverse. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
If you have a question, go ahead, Mr. Kilby.
Anyways, yeah, I've been following this pretty close, and you know, I think Sage Lewis applied for conditional use in April. The city's been very patient. I thought we were able to work something out here. We've been waiting. Actually, homeless, I call it Second Chance Village rather than Tent City, because that's what it really is. We've had numerous people down here testifying about how it helped them. And it's good that the daycare or the day center is going to be there still to do that. But, you know, we've been waiting a year and a half. We've been very patient. I can't understand why we can't be a little more patient and give them a little more time to get these tents out of there. And there's a fella that wants to build small houses, tiny houses, whatever you call them, and he said he could have 20 of them ready in a month. So I would have liked to see the committee take a little more time. Unfortunately, they're not going to, but I'm going to vote no on this. If we would have gave them a little more time, I would have supported the no vote, I mean the yes vote for this committee, but I understand we've been patient, but I think we could have been a little more patient. But I looked at the action plan,
I just want to make
and
sure those two are.
that's really good. Had a couple questions. It says the housing team is under item 3. It says the housing team will ensure that a housing option is offered to all current residents of the encampment within 60 days. So what do they do now? Head for the woods?
No,
Okay,
that's,
I mean, so 60 days, what do you do for the next 60 days?
Councilman Fusco.
Yes, thank you. The administration put this together, and this is like a commitment to work with a continuum of care, to work with the homeless charity, and to work with the city of Akron in terms of finding a safe landing, a place for these folks. And that's what this basically is a commitment. And I don't know, Mr. Secretary, if you'd like to say a few words or not, but that's what this is. And the resolution was, although I have to tell you, perhaps in terms of some of this debate here, we should probably just stick to the zoning itself. And, but in terms of zoning itself, and I don't know if you're arguing with regards to time or not, but I do believe that, you know, it's been in the public domain for a considerable amount of time, and that's why we've asked for the vote.
But we've been discussing the issue of homelessness here nonstop, and I'll commend Mr. Lewis. If nothing else, he did create a dialogue, a conversation, and that's good in and of itself. So, but I just don't know what's going to happen when this is not granted, given them more time. When do they have to get out? Like immediately, or okay? So they're going to be given 60 days to get those tents out of there.
Councilman Fusco.
Well, with as mentioned before, there's going to be a team that's going to be, if I understand this correctly, if I swerve, please let me know. But I'll try to stay in my lane here. Just in terms of, there's a team going to be assembled. That team is going to work together to make sure there's a safe landing for all the folks. And
they've already had safe landings. They didn't like going to some of these places because they told us repeatedly it wasn't safe. So.
Well, that's, again, I would just request that we stick to the zoning issue itself. I understand, though, your questions, but so that's...
All right, then. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, my concern, and I did pledge that I would support this if the memorandum of understanding was in place and that, you know, Mr. Lewis was comfortable with it. That's why I asked if I can hear from him. If Mr. Lewis is comfortable with this agreement, then I'm ready to move forward because there, you know, things do change. There have been things that have been promised, and things have changed, and what was promised wasn't produced. And since we've taken so much time, I would feel comfortable. I wasn't privy to be a part of those discussions, but I think all of us have a lot vested in this. Our city has a lot vested in this. If we could, that's why I asked if we could hear from Mr. Lewis. If he is comfortable that with the discussions about the memorandum of understanding, then I can support the adverse report. If he is not, then I cannot.
Thank you. Councilman Samples? And then I'll get you.
Thank you, Madam President. I too echo the sentiments of my colleague. I just think that with all the work that has been done by Mr. Lewis and Mr. Segedy, and us now having this memorandum and a plan of action, I think it gives us some comfort knowing that Mr. Lewis has read it, he understands it, and he's okay with it, especially now we're voting to basically evict people from the tent city, that he's comfortable with the plan of action by the city. I think we all support this, but I think it's only fair that we know that he understands and supports it as well. Just my opinion. I echo what my colleague said. I think we should hear from him.
Thank you, Councilman Samples. Mr. Segedy?
Yeah, President, Council, members of President Somerville, members of Council. I just wanted to clarify a couple of things. Councilman Fusco did a great job of communicating what was in that resolution and in the plan of action, but just to maybe shine a little bit more light on that. So as you heard at the Planning Committee last week, city officials have been in conversations with Mr. Lewis about kind of next steps and getting people rehoused. And the homeless charity has talked about the aspiration and the desire to get people into safe indoor housing. So that's been the gist in the nature of our discussions with the homeless charity. One of the things that the plan of action communicates is that that will continue. Similarly, working with the great partners that we have at the Continuum of Care who do wonderful work in the community. The plan of action also talks about working with that group as well to rehouse people living in tents, because it has been the position, and this came out in the public hearing, that we support people living in safe housing indoors as opposed to the tents. And so I just wanted to share that with all of you. Hopefully that clarifies it a little bit.
Okay. Any other further questions or comments? Councilwoman Sims?
So I too hope we have an opportunity to hear from Mr. Lewis, but my question to Mr. Fusco is there an immediate vacate order is there just so?
Yeah, thank you. Within the resolution that we passed, there's an action plan that has been developed, and I don't, any zoning enforcement whatsoever, regardless, is going to take 30, 60 days anyways. Typically, Mr. Antonucci, yes, he's agreeing, so typically it takes that long, but I believe there's a commitment in place to ensure that there's a safe place, and I think that's what everyone across the board wants to see. But there's not an immediate, like, go and just anywhere. I don't think anyone here wants to see that. No one wants to see that. And especially Mr. Lewis, I spoke to him. And so, as well as everyone's kind of like action plan, working together, finding a safe landing.
Councilwoman Samples? Councilwoman Samples, could you please stand for us?
Yes, ma'am. So the way the eviction process works over in the courthouse, so we could be assured that there's not going to be a 3-day notice given to Mr. Sage Lewis that they have to vacate within 3 days, and then we go forward with eviction proceedings. Judge, if you could, I'd appreciate it. Well,
no, the process would not be an eviction proceeding, and as you know, the city has not taken any action, any kind of enforcement action for violation of housing code and so on. And also just to clarify, the city received Friday afternoon the proposed memorandum of understanding from the homeless charity. So we have been in the midst of reviewing that, and the plan, of course, is to continue that dialogue and move forward with hopefully completing that in the very near future. So there's been no request at this juncture for the city via the law department to take any form of enforcement action, and if that happened, it would take time. That's a separate thing. So here, there is really a consideration of a zoning matter, but enforcement is entirely distinct from that. Does that make sense?
Any other further questions or comments? Okay. If not, what we have before us, again, is we are looking to either approve or disapprove of the conditional use. So again, yes means you approve, no means you deny, you're against, okay? Councilman Neal?
There were multiple requests, if we could hear from Mr. Lewis, if that's...
It's yes. Yes is no.
Okay, so just so we're clear.
We are changing. Let's please explain that again.
Okay, so again, what we are getting ready to vote on right now is to approve the conditional use. To approve the conditional use for a campground tent community at 15 Broad. So again, yes means you approve, no means you're against.
Should I then pull the committee again?
Madam Chair, it was
Councilman
my
Freeman?
understanding that the committee's report was not favorable. And so if we vote yes on that, that means that we are not in favor. I believe that's what the committee reported out.
Oh, okay, just so we can do this, if we can please have Mr. Angeloni from the law department please comment, or someone give direction, because we're getting two different things here, so we can get on one page and move forward. Who can do that? Either of you. I would greatly appreciate it.
So there was an adverse report from the committee. So if we are going to vote on the adverse report, then you would ask to vote those in favor of the adverse report, which would mean that you are turning down the conditional use. So you would vote yes, that would turn it down. If you vote on, as it is phrased in the agenda, which is the ordinance authorizing the conditional use, then you're voting to either authorize it or not. So there are two different ways to approach that. So if we're voting on the adverse report, then a yes vote.
Is actually turning it down.
Correct.
And that's been
That's right.
what we've done here in council for a long time. The
Okay.
adverse report is a yes.
If we could just please maintain order, I would greatly appreciate it. Just for those, I know there have been several requests that have asked Mr. Lewis to speak. At this moment in time, I'm not going to deem that appropriate, only because the law department has just received that MOU and they are still reviewing that. And so that's what was a part of our resolution, that we will continue conversations. We'll be keeping conversations open with Mr. Lewis as we look to work together to solve this issue. So we're still going to allow time for the law department to do their due diligence, and we'll continue to have further conversations with Mr. Lewis. So at this time, we're going to call for the vote again. So the committee's report is adverse. All those in favor of the adverse report signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Roll call.
Okay. Freeman? That's a yes? Thank you. Fusco?
Aye.
Hope? Yes. Kamer? Aye. Keith? Aye. Kilby? No. Milkovich? No. Mosley Samples? No. Neal? No. Mobley's not here. Sims? Yes. Somerville?
Aye.
Swirsky?
Yes.
I'm going to put it out there like it's on this paper. There were 8 yeses and 4 noes.
That's what I counted. Okay, very good.
Councilman Fusco?
Thank you, President Somerville. The report of the committee is the request of the committee is to file item number 12. That's the petition that we had just voted on in terms of the Brown proposal on Diagonal. The request of the committee is for time on 13, through and including 16. The report of the committee for item number 17 is to file. And the report of the committee is for time on the balance of the agenda.
Thank you. Public Utilities, Councilman Samples.
Thank you, Madam President. We have a public hearing scheduled for September 24th.
And that's at 7 o'clock, correct?
7 o'clock, I'm sorry, 7 o'clock, correct.
Thank you. We're going to now move into our new business. We'll start with planning.
1 second. Okay. Item number 1 and 2 we have already heard, correct?
Yes.
Home Avenue? Okay. Item number 3, offered by Fusco, ordinance authorizing conditional use to establish a medical marijuana dispensary at 737 East North Street and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco?
For and advertise for public hearing.
This item will be referred.
Item number 4, offered by Fusco, ordinance authorizing conditional use to construct a mixed-use residential and retail development at the northwest corner of the intersection of South Hawkins and Alden Avenue.
Councilman Fusco?
For an advertise for public hearing.
This item will be referred.
Item number 5, offered by Fusco. Ordinance authorizing conditional use to retain a solid fence within the setback at 983 Jean Avenue and declare an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
For an advertise for public hearing.
This item will be referred.
Item number 6, offered by Fusco and Somerville. Ordinance approving the sale of city-owned land to the Akron Zoological Park, determining said property is not needed for public use and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Just for the record, Mr. Neal abstained. Item number 7, offered by Fusco. Ordinance approving the sale of certain vacant city-owned property located on Kemmel Boulevard pursuant to the city's A Lot for a Little program in order to facilitate productive reuse of the property and to reduce the cost to the city and to the taxpayers in maintaining vacant lots, determining said property is not needed for public use and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item 7A, offered by Fusco. Ordinance approving the site for the Signet Jewelers Incorporated to install parking lot at 375 Jet Road and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Refer.
This item will be referred.
Item 7B, resolution expressing support for the continued, that's the one we just passed, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. Item number 8, offered by Keith, ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to apply for and enter into grant agreement, if awarded, with the Ohio Department of Transportation for the Akron-Fulton Runway number 725 Rehabilitation Project and declare an emergency.
Councilman Keith.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee would like this to be placed on the consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Okay, item number 9, offered by Sample. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to adopt the natural gas aggregation program plan of operation and governance and enter into agreements required for the services related to the natural gas aggregation program and declare an emergency.
Councilman Samples.
Thank you, Madam President. This is scheduled for a public hearing on September 24th at 7 p.m.
Okay. Item number 10, offered by Sample. Ordinance authorizes the mayor or his designee to enter an agreement with the Buckeye Energy Brokers Incorporated for aggregation consulting services and any other required services related to the natural gas aggregation program for the city of Akron and ratifying any such services performed and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Samples.
Thank you, Madam President. Time, please.
Time will be granted.
Item number 11, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizes the mayor or his designee to apply for and accept, if awarded, grant funds from the Ohio Department of Public Safety to be used for the continuation and the implementation of the impaired driving enforcement program and or the selective traffic enforcement program and declare an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Thank you. Committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. With this grant, if awarded, we will be able to conduct a really great campaign and program here in the city of Akron in regards to click it or ticket or drive sober and get pulled over. And with that, we're asking for passage.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 12, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into agreements with various political subdivisions for the provision of contraband disposal services, approving the form thereof and declaring emergency.
Councilman Kamer?
Thank you. The committee's report is to place this on the consent agenda, please.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 13, offered by Freeman, ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the Akron Municipal Court to enter into a contract or contracts with the County of Summit Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board in order to provide funding for certain specialized dockets, programs that manage addicted offenders in the community and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Councilman Sims?
Madam President, the committee's request is for consent.
Thank you. This item will be placed on the consent agenda. Councilman Neal?
Madam President, I'd like for us to go back and revisit item number 8, which was pulled from the consent agenda.
Okay.
Reason that was pulled is during the discussion last week when we put on a consent agenda, there was a question if that $40,000 was all for the My Neighborhood Our Akron grant, because if you remember during the budget hearing earlier in the year, we said we took $10,000 out for a reading program and then we took $10,000 out for water. Since the reading program is over with, and the water program is usually funded in April and in February and I think in May or something like that. The question was, and maybe you can answer, Mr. Fricker, I'm sorry if this catches you off guard, is this $40,000 totally to fund the My Neighborhood Our Akron City Council grant?
My recollection, and I'll check this, is that there was a separate appropriation for the Akron Cares separate from the $40,000 that was for My Neighborhood Our Akron. So I believe those are separate, so the 10 was not part of the 40.
Okay, so this is truly 40 for the neighborhood grant program. This is what we're dealing with right here.
Yeah, but keep in mind, this legislation has nothing to do with appropriations. This is a separate piece. So there was $40,000 appropriated as part of the budget for My Neighborhood Our Akron. This is separate from that. I mean, it's been appropriated for 2018.
Okay.
So
That I understand. I think the part that throws me off, though, is that we're now in the last quarter, and I'm sure we've already expensed the summer program and expensed the water. And so has this been, because there was discussion during budget hearing that we would put more into the My Neighborhood Akron grant. So again, the question is, $40,000 all for the neighborhood grant program, are we saying?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Councilman, does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. So
What's your pleasure?
I'd like to ask that we go into committee as a whole so we can vote this out for Mr., because I know they wanted to get it passed.
I don't think we have to go into committee as a whole. I think that you can just offer a motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then, Madam Chair, I'd like to offer a motion that we pass item number 8 from the consent agenda with a favorable report.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
We will now go to the portion of our meeting that we refer to as our public comment period. If you wish to speak to this council during this time, you may approach the podium. We're going to ask that you please sign in, then state your full name, spell your last name, and give us your address. You will have 3 minutes to speak to this body. Speakers are reminded that this is an official meeting. Remarks should be kept respectful and germane to council business. Speakers should refrain from making any personal attacks. Anyone who breaches decorum will be ruled out of order and may be removed from council chambers.
Good evening. My name is Sage Lewis. I reside at 72 Pershing Avenue, actually on the west side, and I have a building where there was a tent city, I guess, at 15 Broad Street. First of all, I would like to apologize. I didn't bring my dress jacket. I wasn't informed that there was going to be a vote today. I also haven't seen the thing that is going to solve all of our solutions, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. I would also like to deeply thank the 4 people that voted whatever, yes or no. I can't keep track. You are great. Not to say that the others aren't great, but you worked so tirelessly, and you didn't need to, you know. And it was I think, one of the highlights for me. But I would like to say, you know, if you don't want a guy like me doing the things that guys like me do, don't put this on my trash can. I look at this every day. It's on that flag. It's down there by the flower pots. Do you know what it means, All American City? You see it all the time. It's everywhere. 3 times. Actually, I heard it was actually 1980. 4 times that I saw on something today. Let me just read it for you quickly. The All-American City Award recognizes communities that leverage civic engagement, collaboration, inclusiveness, and innovation to successfully address local issues. In the great decisions of Pontius Pilate, you have washed your hands of this. And you have thrown all of the homeless out of an airplane without a parachute.
Sage, we can hear you, okay? I just want to let you know.
I quit smoking, my decibels went up, I apologize.
Okay.
So what is happening here is you're assuming it's all going to be taken care of, that it's all going to be okay. But what we really did was you just got it off of your desk so you can move on. But I will tell you, the homeless are not moving on. And there was a deadline of August 1st to house all of these people. The COC, read it in the Beacon Journal, they had a deadline of August 1st. So let's see, I will do it. Give them a key, they will go in a house, I will take down a tent. I will buy houses, I will do this, I will make this work, I will work as hard as I possibly can, but the reality of the situation is that you washed your hands of this, you did not want to work with this, and now we are all going to have to deal with the consequences. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Good evening. My name is Selmar Purdue Jr. I came here tonight to speak with the mayor and Mr. Somerville of a promise they made some time ago with me. I have a business at 408 Wellington in Akron. I teach truck driving, automotive, and carpentry. We was putting a forum together. I've been down there leasing from the Saluskis for approximately 8 years. On the 10th of this month now, Mr. Somerville and the mayor promised me that don't worry about moving. We'll find you a suitable place. If you don't find it first, we'll look for you one. We'll get you one. So don't worry about moving. On the 10th, I went down and all my equipment was gone. Was towed off the property. This is the 3rd time I've been interrupted by our city government. Our city government doesn't understand that we too are human. It hurts. Not only that, I'm a disabled vet. I came home from Vietnam paralyzed. I didn't tell anyone because it hurt to be dependent on anybody. So from that, when I learned to walk and they helped me to walk, I decided to help a people. I like to give a hand up, not a hand out. That's why I didn't take a hand out. I created some businesses that was good. Furnace Street was my first episode with the city. They took everything off of Furnace Street and placed me on a $500,000 cash bond. So this is my 3rd strike. I want to give this to the mayor, so I want him to see just what's being done now. No one gave me a letter vacate. No one told me they was going to tow the equipment. But when they towed it, a friend of mine brought this to me today where they offered her a chance to come pick up a car that I bought from her 4 years ago. Now, if she picks the car up, which I done put a motor in, I lose. She wins again. So I'm asking the mayor and Mr. Somerville, will you please have the company that towed everything off of Wellington, 408 Wellington, please return it. And then let's do it properly. Give me the paperwork it needs to vacate. Give me so many days to vacate. The planning department was 100% out of line. I asked for, the young man came down and told me they had a federal order to build a water holding down. He said he got a federal order, so I asked the city. I called down and asked the mayor's office, is it possible that I could get a copy of the federal order? Because believe me, I've been in Akron for quite a while, and I cannot understand why just Akron, when there's Fairlawn, Talmadge, and the rest of them. You go down, and I'm sure our schools connect.
Sir, your time is up.
Okay, is it possible someone can give this to the mayor so he can see it? And I appreciate this evening with you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Perdue.
My name is Betty Brazil. I live at 161 Musto Street. I'm here to get some answers about the housings on Musto Street. I hear several things, that they're not going to take our homes. Yes, they're going to take our homes. I don't know if they're going to take our homes. So I'm here to ask the question, if someone can let me know or let us know on Musto Street, are they going to take our homes? If they are going to take our homes, when? And why haven't we received something in the mail saying that, so we know how to go about what we need to do? I don't know. I just need some answers about that. Are they going to take our homes, or they're not going to take our homes? And if not, or if they are, can we get some kind of statement, some kind of notice, when, why? And that's why I'm here tonight, to get some answers.
Thank you, Mrs. Brazil. Mr. Thomas Tatum is here, and he's been so kind to, after the meeting, he's agreed to speak with those that might have some questions, okay, as it relates.
Good evening. My name is Bob Keener. I am president of the Fairlawn Heights Neighborhood Association. We are a voluntary association which tries to be responsive to the concerns of the residents of our neighborhood. In July, we had our quarterly meeting and had an open forum where we hope people bring up issues that of concern to them. And the first issue was brought up was speeding in our neighborhood. I grew up in Fairlawn Heights, and and you can tell by my age, it's been quite some time ago, but speeding's always been a problem there. And the only topic that was brought up was speeding. It generated a conversation that lasted almost an hour. So, trying to fulfill our mission, we immediately established a committee to deal with that, and we have 3 volunteers to speak to you this evening to discuss the problem, what we're doing about it, and what we'd like the city to do to help us with this problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keener.
Good evening. My name is Dennis Ross. I live at 2286 Covington Road, that is in Fairlawn Heights. I would like to thank the President and Council for both your time and the opportunity to come and speak to you tonight about what we perceive to be a serious problem of both through traffic and speeding. Approximately 2 years ago, the Fairlawn Heights Association had asked the then acting traffic engineer if they would perform a study for us to look at both the signage and what options we had for controlling the speed in the community. And we were given the indication that that study would take place. It has been approximately 2 years, and to date we have seen no report, and nothing is forthcoming to the best of our knowledge. that lack of response has been very discouraging to the residents, and we've expressed a lot of loss of faith with the city because of that. During that period, we've done some research, and across all of the studies that we have viewed, the most effective signage states not only the miles per hour, but also some wording to the effect of radar enforced on the sign as well. This temporary speed signs and even the sign which most recently has appeared in our neighborhood that the city has brought out, which is electronic sign indicating what your speed is at that moment, really is a momentary solution. We believe that radar guns used by police officers are the most effective in reducing speed, which also reduces crashes and injuries. This past November, we voted on issue number 4 and passed it as city residents for spending on the roads, fire, EMS, and the police. We also believe that the mayor has allocated some additional hours for radar enforcement. We think with the utilization of possibly a third-party company providing radar services, the radar guns, the maintenance of them, ticket creation, court representation, and most importantly, officer overtime for the radar implementation are all free as part of their services. We're not expecting this to be a moneymaker, but an opportunity to enforce the laws that are on the books to make our streets safer. The laws are there. They are just not being enforced at the same level that is commensurate with the number of speeders that we have in our neighborhood. We thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Ross.
My name is Linda Woods, and I live at 2468 Amesbury Road. Just to provide a little history of how the association became involved. While speeding occurs throughout Fairlawn Heights, our committee initially addressed the major through streets, Shockalog, Ridgewood, Hampshire, Covington, and Wolcott. Speeding has escalated to dangerous levels as drivers have continued to ignore the 25-mile-per-hour speed limits that are rarely enforced. Furthermore, navigation systems are routinely directing traffic through Fairlawn Heights between the freeway and Market Street. It's important to note that there are no sidewalks in Fairlawn Heights, so speeders endanger walkers, joggers, cyclists, and children playing. With the help of Councilwoman Marilyn Keith, the committee obtained slow-down signs, and a petition with our request was launched on change.org. Fairlawn Heights residents received flyers providing instructions how to sign the petition and telling them how to obtain yard signs. That is when we knew we had hit a hot button in the neighborhood. We received call after call with requests for signs, story after story of near misses on our streets, frustration and anger that complaints of drivers routinely going 10 to 25 miles an hour above the speed limit seem to be largely ignored. We've become a bit more optimistic now that City Council will finally address the problems as we present them. We have received over 150 requests for signs from neighbors throughout Fairlawn Heights, and over 350 have signed the petition. Local media has taken note of our efforts, with Dave Nethers of Fox 8 News, Doug Livingston in the Akron Beacon Journal, and Cassandra Smith in the West Side Leader. With Maryland's help, we have had an increased activity by the State Highway Patrol and Akron Police Department. All of this increased attention has slowed some of the drivers. However, experience tells us this will be short-lived unless City Council addresses long-term measures put before you in the petition. No more temporary Band-Aids. Instead, the Fairlawn Heights Neighborhood Association respectfully requests action from our city officials that will result in safer conditions for all who use our streets. Drivers will know that that speeding within our residential neighborhood will not be tolerated. We thank you for your attention, and we thank you for your help in reducing this problem in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Woods.
Good evening. I'm Diane Geiger, 2280 Ridgewood Road, and I'm the last of the committee members to speak on this. A comment from a resident on Chocolog Road. We've lived here for 2 years. If we knew the majority of motorists would be driving at an average speed of 40 miles per hour instead of the 25 mile per hour speed limit, we most likely would not have moved into this house. This house is no longer slated to be our forever home because we are too nervous to be located with children on such a dangerous road. It is unfortunate. A comment from a resident on Amesbury. The situation with speeders has been a problem for years. It is getting worse. Our complaints are not being sufficiently addressed by the city. The Neighborhood Association would like to thank our ward representative, Marilyn Keith, who has been a consistent, strong support, but it's not enough. We need the mayor and his administration to take action on this issue and to address it with strong impact, not tolerance. We have 4 specific requests. First, increased long-term police presence to catch speeders and continuation of the State Highway Patrol support, who have been awesome. Second, signage on major traffic streets that include the words, which you've heard according to research are most effective. Speed limit 25 miles per hour, electronic enforcement. Third, handheld electronic speed guns, training and enforcement, all of which are no cost to the city. And fourth, a time-ordered study that includes retiming and rethinking of traffic lights and their signals entering and exiting the neighborhood to reduce cut-through traffic, and a plan and signage to reduce truck traffic. We have now presented the history of this effort, the council's involvement, the research, and the requests. We've waited over 2 years. We have received a disappointing report with no real solutions from the city. The Neighborhood Association would like to thank our ward representative, Council Marilyn Keith, very much. Our proposed solutions are reasonable and enforceable. We'd like to hear what you cannot do, and we would like to return until there is a solution and it is enforced. We'd like to know when we can expect your response. A comment from the residents on Ridgewood Road and Holgate. I've lived here 9 months and already have had 2 cars end up in my yard because of speeding. It's a matter of time before someone gets hurt. With respect and gratitude, that ends the committee's report, and we are the Fairlawn Heights Neighborhood Association. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Diger.
Hello, my name is Heidi Blinka. I reside at 317 Chocolog Road. I got one of the flyers in my mail. So I was talking with one of the ladies that I did call, and she urged me to come tonight. I am actually originally from a very large city, and when I came here 32 years ago, I was in love with the little neighborhoods that we had and all the parades and the things, and it felt like a neighborhood. As a 32-year-old working tax-paying homeowner, I am here to say I'm really disappointed, and I have come to not know my neighbors. I don't walk my dog. I raised 3 children in this town. They have all moved away. They don't want to return here, I'm sorry to say. So I have something that I can pass on. A lot of it's been said. Mine came from a residential cut-through traffic observation. Traffic passing through a residential area without stopping and without origin or destination in the area. That's what pass-through traffic is. Traffic that would be better served by a street system that is intended for this volume of traffic. Some studies define excessive cut-through traffic as 150 per hour during high volume times. We do not have proof of this number, but that is why we're asking for a traffic study. We believe these numbers will prove an excessive amount of cut-through traffic sufficient to warrant substantial action beyond just signage. Effectively, this has reduced the livability of the community, resulting in severely impaired social and recreational function of the public streets in the neighborhood due to the heavy volume and speed of this cut-through traffic. Local residential streets are central to the feeling of community and belonging in a neighborhood. This has been eroded with the continued increase in traffic, choosing an easy path to and from market, particularly on Ridgewood, Chocolog, and Hampshire. There's a discrepancy between professional practice, manifest in street design, and actual performance as experienced by these residents. This is evidenced by the rise in complaints, reduction in neighborhood interaction, and rapid deterioration of roads that are not lasting the expected norms of 15 to 18 years for resurfacing. Between these overlays, whether you use the mill and fill or the other overlay, there's roughly 3 different resurfacing techniques, but they should all be lasting roughly 15 years, and they're not even coming close to that. Local residents are being asked to pay for this resurfacing, but are experiencing poor road conditions, some severe, such as on Chocolog, that are only given a toss and patch asphalt when it becomes critical. We're asking for an engineering reassessment of how the resurfacing is done, so perhaps it will last longer, and for consideration of speed bumps to reduce both speed and flow of traffic. We're asking that the Miller Road, which is the major artery that should be used, be studied for usability to consider things such as left-hand turn lanes, so more people will want to use this pathway to Market Street from the highway. I know if you go up Miller, there's a lot of people turning left onto those little streets. People tend to dodge around. So I have my notes here if you want to pass those on. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Blanca.
Once again, I am Bob Keener, 400 West Fairlawn Boulevard. While I agree with much of this, what this lady said, she is not speaking for the Fairlawn Heights Neighborhood Association. I just want to make that clear.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Bernard Perry. I live at 2447 Amesbury Road. So much of what I want to say has already been said, but I would like to emphasize one particular item that's my favorite amongst all the others that I've had in the neighborhood, and that is the installation of speed bumps. And what prompted me to say anything at all was there was an article, or not an article, but a letter to the editor in one of the newspapers a couple of weeks ago, where this individual had recently moved in the area from an out-of-state location, and he was sympathetic with what was going on in Fairlawn Heights, and he said that they went through the same ramifications of improvement that we're going through, but the only thing that really improved anything was speed bumps. And the speed bumps pretty much didn't eliminate, but pretty much reduced any excessive speed. I'd like to, in order to emphasize this, I'd like to point out a couple of things that Akron has recently done that has improved the welfare of neighborhoods, is installing traffic circles. And if you know what the accidents have been in Copley and Bath Township and West Akron before the speed bumps, you know that accidents in those areas now not improved. They're down to 0. And I understand that Akron and Summit County is even going to approve more. So my point is, police and other temporary improvements don't help as much as permanence. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Mr. Perry.
Good evening. My name is Gwen Gamlin from 364 Noah Avenue, and I have another property at 338 Noah as well. I'm sure I don't have to tell any of you the crime that we are experiencing in that area. I've lived there since 1972 in that area. Prior to that, I have lived in the Bookdale cluster for years. It is just appalling and heartbreaking to see the lives that's been taken, the lives that are affected by the crime, the shooting, the things that's going on. I'm speaking primarily of the Noah store, Bacon, that area. And a lot of this, I think, is attributed to some business on that street that we would like to see shut down, closed, and if not, then they need to have, we think, more police around because our children are at stake. I came home one day, I think 2 weeks ago, and it was police at Peckham and Noah, because it was wired up out there, shooting at each other like out there in the West in the old days or something. Then we had a little boy, 15, get killed. Then the other day I come down Copley Road and they roped off Open Pantry, another shooting. I didn't see the other one, but they said it was another one. I mean, this goes on, it's just like nothing. I went to council, to a meeting last year with Mr. Neal. I called Mr. Valley down, and someone and Mr. Moore down in the city hall about the trees on Noah. It's so dark, I'd hate for my daughter or son to walk down there in that block north of Copley and south of Peckham. We've got to do something about the crime in that area. I have seen that neighborhood go downhill, and it's a neighborhood where people have lived and they have homes. There's some rental property, but the people are afraid to come outside. So we need to do something. I mean, increase police presence, signs we've had for speeding as Fairlawn Heights has had, but what are we going to do about these young kids and these guns? And we got Booked high school kids coming home, we got kids getting off buses on these corners, and just prior to the bus stopping at Peckham and Noah that day was that shooting. It was around 2:30. Buses come there 3 o'clock. Kids from Booked walk there. So what are we going to do? I mean, it's not getting better, it's getting worse. So I'd like to see and hear what kind of plan they have in place. I personally would like to see Open Pantry shut down. They don't take care of the property. They have all kind of hangouts and loitering there. Police are there, but they can't do anything unless something happens. They can sit there. That's my understanding, because then they're harassing. I don't know, but maybe some of you can tell me the answer. Again, like I said, I'd like to see those trees trimmed on Noah Avenue as well. It's going into the second year, and you can't even see at night on that street. That's unheard of. So please, please, somebody do something. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Gamble. I'm just going to ask that after the meeting, if you'll get with Councilman Neal after the meeting.
Okay.
Hello, thank you for allowing us to speak. My name's Harriet Chapman. I'm at 320 Hampshire. I am a member of the Fairlawn Heights Neighborhood Association. I am not speaking for that association. And I simply have to add an amendment to what my neighbors have said in terms of a suggestion. There are at least 3 intersections on Ridgewood Road that, were a traffic study to be performed, could be explored for additional stop signs if street bumps or other engineering options don't work. They are Inverness, Ely, and Somerset. The same intersections could allow for stop signs on Hampshire Road as well. Shockalog also has several other intersections. So I just wanted to offer that as a suggestion and an addition. Thank you very much for your time and attention to the issue, and thank you, Councilwoman Keith.
Thank you, Mrs. Chapman.
How you doing? My name is William Horsfall. I live in Ward 10, Ellet. The reason I'm here is because I've been contacting City Council and numerous members trying to get some kind of help with the crime in our neighborhood and some of the other issues. Most of the issues I've been contacting, it's been 3 to 4 months. Everybody tells me they'll get back with me. Haven't heard anything back from anyone. I was told that the Akron Law Department would get a hold of me. Never did. We've had numerous issues. Just in the past month, we've had a couple break-ins. The PNC Bank got armed robbery, and I mean, we're here begging for help. We have a neighborhood block watch of people that gather, putting forth a big effort, and we ain't getting no backing from the council. So we're here begging for some help. That's all I can say. And I have contacted a lot of people.
William, did you sign in and write your name and your address on that sheet for us?
Yeah, you got my number.
So we can follow up, okay. Anyone else wishing to speak during public comment period?
Hello. Hi, Sean Cooper here, 132 Dellenberger Avenue. I also reside in Ward 10, and I pay my taxes in Ward 10. I live and work in Akron. The sentiments that Bill said is true. We do have a great community-oriented police officer, Eric Wagner, who's been doing tremendous work in our area. But we've been fighting as much as we can to keep crime out of that small area that we try to, coordinate with Eric, and now Chris Beitzel, who's also been extremely helpful. She just took over for Brian Simcox, who was a great asset in our community, and she's already starting to really help out. Chris Beitzel's really helping out. Obviously, we wish we could get Gary Moneypenny back. He was instrumental in starting our block watch. He helped us out in our block watch. He would come to our meetings. He lived in Ward 10. He patrolled the areas. He had great insight to a lot of things, and he had a lot of great connections. He was very helpful. He didn't need anyone to run his ward meetings. He knew exactly what he needed to do, and he knew what to say. So I'm also up here asking for help in Ward 10 as well. If someone on council or anything could just help the councilman in Ward 10 to help his constituents, not necessarily run his meetings, but just maybe tutor him or just help him in regards to helping his community. So.
Okay, thank you.
To bring this home, Cynthia Bell, 123 Mustell Street, Ward 5. Rosie surfaced. What an amazing thing. I went to bed one night about a week after Rosie surfaced, and I thought the world had come to an end because I had not heard that silence in 3 years, and I was absolutely amazed at the noise reduction that occurred afterwards. To hear crickets, to hear them, it's just absolutely amazing, dead silence. So now that Rosie has surfaced, we've been told they're not done. So I would like to see an update as to what happens now, because now we're expecting the building of the water retaining receptacle and what is to be expected from there. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak during our public comment period? Seeing none, we'll close our public comment period and move into our committee assignments. Rules, Councilman Keith.
2:30.
Budget and Finance, Councilman Keith.
3 o'clock.
Planning, Councilman Fusco.
1:30.
Public Service, Councilman Keith.
2 o'clock.
Public Utilities, Councilman Samples. Public Safety, Councilman Kamer. Parks and Rec, Councilman Neal. Housing, Councilman Kilby. Health and Social Services, Councilman Sims. Economic Development, Councilman Sims. Green Committee, Councilman Swirsky.
1 o'clock.
Is there anything else coming before council? Any objections? Meeting adjourned.
I just feel bad.
This concludes the live broadcast of Akron City Council. Mark Somerville, President of Council, presiding.